We're all different people with different problems, but there's always this underlying current of, some sort of tug or imbalance in our lives. And so once I realized that my problems were unique to me, but not unique in the context of, female physicians, that's when I started saying, well, hey, maybe there's something I can do to help the female physician collective to just have a little bit more life satisfaction.
Welcome to She Coaches Coaches, the podcast where we have thoughtful, honest conversations about what it really takes to build a thriving coaching business. I'm your host, Candy Motzek, and before building my business, I spent years as a senior corporate leader. Now, today, I work with coaches who are smart, well-trained, and deeply capable, and who want clarity about how to grow in a way that feels aligned and financially sustainable. On this show, I sit down with successful coaches to explore the real decisions behind their success, how they got started, what shifted as they grew, and the mindset and business choices that helped them gain momentum without burning out. Whether you're early in your coaching journey or refining a business you've already built, She Coaches Coaches is here to offer perspective, confidence, and grounded insight to support your next chapter. To learn more about how I work with people, go to my website, stepintosuccessnow.com. And now let's dive in. Welcome back to She Coaches Coaches. I am so excited for this episode today. I have a lovely guest, Dr. Lindsey Grabek. We have worked together for a number of months. She is a true professional, and I'll tell you a little bit about her. Of course, I've got a bio, but before that, just a little bit. You would love to have a physician like this in your life. She is a warm and caring individual. She is also a coach, and everything that she has done to build her coaching business in parallel with her demanding career is done with integrity and deepening her area of genius, which is emotional intelligence. She is a joy to work with, and I know you're going to love the conversation. Now, let me tell you a bit more about her. She helps female physicians leverage their emotional intelligence to reduce overwhelm, lead with steadier confidence, and increase their influence. The EQ Deep Dive is a coaching package designed for leaders who want to gain deep insight into their emotional intelligence, amplify their strengths, optimize growth areas, and walk away with a clear, actionable plan to elevate their leadership. Lindsey, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. That was very, very kind of you. All those words. Thank you.
You're so welcome. You deserve them. So let's start with this question. What are you most excited about in your work right now?
Well, I've been doing this, I put that in quotes, for the last almost 2 years. And by doing this, I mean building this coaching practice on the side. I think I spent most of last year kind of waffling, tumbling through, dealing with, should I even do this? Who am I to do this? All those kind of imposter syndrome sort of thoughts. And I've determined that this year for me is going to be about visibility, actually getting myself out there and seen by other people. And I think that's what I'm most excited about because I have done some brave things here and there, and they're scary, but they're also really exhilarating. And I'm excited to keep moving forward with that.
A year of visibility. When you
Yes.
say that, what do you think? Like, what does that conjure up for you?
I feel like I have something very meaningful that I want to do with my time on this earth. And visibility for me means doing that more publicly instead of just doing it in my head on the car ride to work?
Yeah, actually finishing the circle of making the impact that you
Yes.
want to make. I love that. It takes a lot of courage to be a professional and then to build a business on the side. And, full-time, highly demanding role, family, and then to add this idea about having a coaching practice. Do you remember a moment where you decided that you actually wanted to do this? Like it's a
Mm.
big undertaking.
There's not one specific moment. I think it's been a lot of different moments all leading up to it. And overall, I'm an anesthesiologist, so I take care of a wide spectrum of people in various states of health. And so being constantly faced with how sensitive, temporary life is, it's always on my mind. What am I here for? What am I here to do? And if you ask me any one point, I think it would be last year we were at the airport and I ran into an old friend who has basically made her life into exactly what she wanted, where she's able to have her clinical job and take care of her patients in that way and also do this other thing on the side that allows her to truly step into who she is meant to be here. And that gave me the strength to say, hey, I'm more than just mom, wife, doctor, all this other stuff. There's a spirituality to me that I don't know, it's just been knocking for a while. So just trying to answer it.
I think that's really interesting. There's not a lot of people that have that understanding that life is fleeting. Like we might say the words, but it's
Yeah,
very different than the actual deep understanding of it. Has that shifted how you think about yourself and how, like, what your mission for your life actually is?
totally. 100%. Um, I think in addition to seeing the fragility of life at work, I'm also a mom. And so seeing life from the beginning as it grows up, and then looking at my own aging family, I can't help but wonder. I guess what I should say is the overall goal for myself is two things. One, leave this world with as little regret as possible. And two, leave a legacy that is worthy of the people that come after me. And so that is really the way that that's what I focus on when I'm working on this is how can I kind of achieve both of those goals by the end of my life. I don't remember what your actual question was
No,
though.
yeah, and I've kind of forgotten the question too, and it's okay because I'm more interested in I'm trying to find the resonance of the place of purpose. And sometimes it's not the words, but it's the energy that comes up and you hit it a couple of times. And I do that intentionally for the listeners. So of course, some people are listening, some people are watching this on YouTube, but the people that are watching this are all coaches, right? And
Mhm.
I believe that we all hear that place that some real alignment has happened. And so that was what I was after. And I mean, I'm going to leave this in the recording because it's full transparency. I want people to know what I'm doing. Like, I want them to hear that they can choose a life that is
Yes.
really, truly for them, that is deeply meaningful, and that they can do it, something that's not attainable. Especially if they've been thinking, oh, not yet, not until the kids have grown, not until they're
Mhm.
finished with college. Like so many times we make these excuses. And so to hear your reflection on the fragility of life, but then also that desire to have, leave a life with no regrets, leave a legacy. That's strong. That's really strong stuff.
It's like I sort of feel like, you assume risk at any point of the day. Anytime you step into the car, you assume risk, right? And so what you get out of waiting for the right time is the potential risk of never having the right time come. And so I think what I'm trying to do is live from that place of legacy and complete a sense of completion. My life is complete. I have completed what I came here to do in my everyday so that if my life ends tomorrow, at least I lived up to that within the moments that I was given. I don't know. Maybe that's too deep, but that's
No,
kind of what I'm
not at
thinking.
not at all. There's deep thinkers that listen to this show. They send me notes and say, "That was really good. I want more conversations like that." Life is hard globally. There's so much unrest, and I think people
Mhm.
are really hungry for that deeper connection with, with spirit, with the divine, however you define it, whether it's through
Yeah.
religion or spirituality or both. And we need more of that. Do you mind if we sort of shift a little bit here? You are a female physician. You work with female physicians in your coaching, and you've got this focus on emotional intelligence. What drew you to that?
Yes. Survival. I was a new mom. Yes, I mean, honestly, I was a new mom. I had started a new job and gosh, I was miserable, always stressed about work when I'm at home, always stressed about my new kid, my newborn when I was at work and just that balance. I mean, I'm sure so many not even physicians, but people can just relate to that, or women or moms can relate to that kind of struggle, that pull between work and home and that balance. And, I love my job and it's not going anywhere. I love my kid and she's not going anywhere. So what's the solution, And I stumbled upon emotional intelligence just from like I said, out of sheer survival. Like, what's wrong with me? How do I fix this? How do I stop being miserable? And so I started doing my own emotional intelligence training. And then in conversations with some of my colleagues, I would, not that I would like try to offer solutions, but I would start to hear resonance or patterns, I guess, so we're all different people with different problems, but there's always this underlying current of, some sort of tug or imbalance in our lives. And so once I realized that my problems were unique to me, but not unique in the context of, female physicians, that's when I started saying, well, hey, maybe there's something I can do to help the female physician collective to just have a little bit more life satisfaction so that they may live lives free of regret and, start working on whatever legacy they came here to leave to.
So for you, honing your emotional intelligence, what's been the result? What's the
Mm.
benefit for you?
And yes, I am more peaceful. I am more resilient. My own, inner critic is still very much there, but has calmed down a little bit. She still likes to get loud sometimes. My relationship with my partner is not that we were in any sort of trouble before, but I have, you know, gained a deeper appreciation for who he is, what I bring to the table in our relationship. And I think the most important of all is that I am really proud of the mom that I am to my daughter through emotional intelligence training.
Mhm.
I am not perfect, but I also know that even in my imperfection, I'm always trying to be excellent for her. I'm creating her inner voice, her inner world, and I'm hopefully creating a human or helping to nurture a human who's going to be impactful in this world.
Sounds like a pretty big ripple effect.
Yes, exactly.
And so, and then through that, the people that you work with to support them in a similar journey for themselves, you can change the world doing this.
That's the thing, I feel like it's so easy to get overwhelmed, like you were saying, by all the suffering and injustice and just all the stuff, the ick, that's going on. And it can be overwhelming because one person cannot solve any of it.
Well,
But there's a collective movement, I feel, and I am eager to be a part of that. And so I think if I can change or modify my way of living such that it reflects the authenticity that my soul came here to do, then and if I can help others do that too, then maybe we as a collective can actually have a meaningful impact.
yeah. And, it's funny, like I talk to coaches all the time, and there is that underlying thread with the vast majority of the coaches that I talk to. Each of them going about it in a slightly different way, but like I can make a difference here. This world is
Mhm.
hard. People have so much potential. They want a better life, not a better life. And, what kind of a car do you drive? Like, not to say
Right.
that material things aren't important, but to have a better life, a deeper level of satisfaction
Yes.
and fulfillment and meaning and peace in their life. And I just see that as such a trend. It didn't used to be as strong as it is now. I think that there's this call that's going out and so many people are responding. That
Right.
just,
Yes. Agreed. Yeah. I'm excited. I mean, I like to be a part of it.
yeah, me too. That's why I do what I do.
You're pretty darn good at it. I'll say that.
Thank you. So, one of the things that's a little bit different, and a lot of the people who listen to this show, they might relate to this. Being a professional, and I know that I experienced this when I shifted into coaching. So, being a professional and becoming a coach, there can be this feeling that, and I don't want to say it so that it sounds bad, but it's a little bit
Mhm.
flaky. You know, like when
Mhm.
you're used to dealing with metrics and standard operating procedures and KPIs and hierarchical organizations, and then you're going to be
Yeah.
a coach, and underneath it, you're like, and I want to make a difference in the world. It can feel like a
Mhm.
flaky transition. Like, how do I do
Yes.
this without my people thinking, my gosh, have you lost it? Like, what are you doing?
Yes.
I expect that you probably have dealt with this kind of a struggle too. Does that sound
100%.
familiar? Yeah.
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, one of the approaches that I've been recommending quite recently to clients, especially that are in that place, is to do a survey. And I know that you just sort of took the idea and you just ran with it. So can you tell us a little bit about what you did and how it made you feel doing
Yeah.
creating a survey?
Yeah. So yes, I took your advice and ran with it. And my survey was the title was The State of Emotional Intelligence Among Female Physicians. And so I created several questions that were all tied to various emotional intelligence themes and then sent it to as many people as I could. It was a very non-scientific data gathering. Okay. I just would email people or I posted in social media, you know, and then I'd ask people, hey, can you send this to your friends and stuff? And then I just looked at all the data based on everything that I got. So 120 women responded. I was very honored by that. We're all very busy, and so 120 women at least A wanted to support what I was doing, or B, thought it was important enough. This work was important enough to be, to give me their information about, to give me their answers. And I think overall, I don't need to go into necessarily the results of the study, but I think for me, that was the big shift that I needed to go from it's not just me, it's everywhere. Not every single female physician struggles with the same things, right? There are some women that were like, I'm like totally happy with my life. There's nothing I want to change. And then there were some that were like, I'm so completely miserable and I don't know how to get out. And so I gained a deeper understanding of my person, the women I'm trying to speak to in a way that made me feel like an expert, not like a phony, not flaky, not like I was, just regurgitating things I had seen on social media. This was my data that people answered my questions. I'm collecting this data and I'm putting it out into the world. So I have a tremendous sense of pride in that survey, a tremendous sense of ownership. And now, like I said, authority to say, hey, I have data to prove, what you could do if emotional intelligence training is something you feel like you may benefit from. The survey gave me the propulsion I needed to go from who am I? I'm not like I'm no one. No one's gonna trust me to be like, if you don't trust me, look at my survey. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I like that. And so it helps your audience,
Mhm.
helps the female physicians that you're going to work with. I agree with you that when I did the survey for the coaching business growth survey that I did last year, I really felt honored that people took the time to respond. Just that message alone that people took time to respond, I think it says there's something to that topic that is interesting to the people that you would like to work with, that maybe is going to be helpful. But the biggest thing for me is like how you felt.
Yes.
This is data that I've collected. Yes, it's not fully scientific. I get that, but it's still answers, right? And that
Yes.
makes a difference. How has that helped you design your coaching program? Has there been a real effect there?
Yes. So I think if you ask me what's one thing you gained or one awareness you gained from your survey, the answer would be trends. I was actually able to identify trends in my data that gave me direction for the things I want to speak on as an authority figure now. And so, to use emotional intelligence for female physicians, for example, when someone comes to me and they say, man, I just feel like I'm just living in survival, going through the motions, I can say, hey, you're not alone. And it doesn't feel sleazy or salesy. I'm literally saying you're not alone and I can prove it.
Yeah.
um, you know, these are things that other women have done to help pull themselves out of that. And I can help show you how to do that. So I went from a place of feeling like an imposter. Like I know when we worked together, when we first started working together, one of the things I would always say is like, I don't want to be like a car salesman. That's not what I want to do. Right.
Yeah.
And I think my lack of growth, was came from a place of fear of feeling that way. I no longer feel that way because I have data to back it up that I gathered myself from my survey, you know?
Yeah. It's a surprising result. To
Yes.
not the actual, like, yes, you got great data, you got trends, you got really great ideas. It can help you in so many areas of your business. But to me, that big thing is that it's like this is something I can stand on, you
Mhm.
know? Like I can put
I mean,
this
so much
right? I
sorry.
can put this up in front of people
Yep.
and say, this is real. Coaching
It's
is real.
interesting too,
This is what helps. Yeah.
because I'm an individual and I am my own, I am me. Tons of people talk about emotional intelligence, as I'm sure tons of people talk about coaching. But I created a survey. I created the questions. I decided what information I wanted. I sent it out to the people that I sent it out to. So my data is completely unique and it is essentially non reproducible by someone else, right? Because it's mine. It came from me. And that to me is the most powerful thing that I have, literally a one of a kind thing because of all those elements I just described. And so it almost gave me a voice amongst a sea of other voices, I guess, to say it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Did you have a challenge trying to figure out what questions to ask, or is that easy or hard? And in what way?
I don't think coming up with questions was easy. I think paring them down into a few was much harder. And then after the fact, honestly, I think my biggest regret is once I sent out the survey, I was like, ah, shoot, I wish I would have asked this or. So I think maybe some sort of repetitive survey or every year or something like that, or a return survey would be helpful. I think what I wish I would have done, which I didn't do looking back, is I wish I would have, and this was only because I just didn't, I was ignorant with it, but I wish I would have sat down and been like, what questions do I really want to know? I focused more on concepts of emotional intelligence, and I wish I would have asked. But the thing is, like, I know now what I know now because of what I did, so I guess I
Yeah.
can't be mad at that. I wish I would have spent more time thinking about what am I really trying to figure out the answers to here, and how can I elicit that in these questions?
That thing right there is really important. And then I would
Yeah,
add onto it, and what questions are those female physicians really
yeah,
grappling with?
yeah.
You
That's a good
know?
point.
So to create another survey at some time in the future, whether you do or not, but where the survey itself almost gets the person taking the survey thinking about
Hmm.
their life in a way.
Yes.
I have this thing often with new clients where I might give them a pre coaching questionnaire where they spend some time reflecting and filling out some questions. So they arrive at their first coaching session having already thought of their life. And so
Yes.
many of those people come and say, oh my gosh, I learned so much doing that questionnaire. And that would be really
Yeah.
fun if the survey could have that effect for
Yeah.
some of
That's
those
true.
people that you share it with too.
Yeah.
I think this question, like choosing the questions, I won't say the right questions, but I'll say strongest questions, sort of the most impactful questions.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot.
It's hard too because, some of the people I knew and some of them I didn't know. And I struggled a little bit with vulnerability. Like, how do I ask you a question that makes you feel comfortable enough to respond, but not so uncomfortable that you just close it and don't continue? And so I'm assuming there are some topics in other areas that could be as sensitive. And I think that was hard too. So I always wanted to check my desire, to know more against the level of comfort I was demanding of my respondees.
Yes, to that. And then the other thing just to layer on to that is, yes, they submitted their names and their emails and their responses, but so that they knew that that confidential information wasn't going to be shared. Not,
Exactly.
Jane Smith said X, right? So to give them that level of comfort probably also gave them the comfort to respond as best they could
Yes.
to some of the
Yes.
questions. I had another thought about this, and just for the listeners, just so you know, in the episode notes, you can scroll to them and we'll definitely put the link so you can grab Lindsay's survey, her survey results, so you can see the report that she created out of it. And she's also got a recording of the masterclass that she did. So you can just go and have a look at it and see it in action, especially if this kind of idea appeals to you. We've talked about tactics and strategies and some of your mission. How have you grown as a person through deciding to be a coach, starting your coaching business, all of the things that you've done? How has this impacted you?
I want to be someone who once I had a kid, my focus for my life became being her mom, being the best mom that I could be to her. To provide her with, love and all that stuff, but also again to nurture her to become fully the person she came here to be. And it's interesting because I became a mom right around the same time that I started on this journey. So those two things are pretty connected to me. So it is actually genuinely hard to kind of separate them. But those two things together has opened my eyes to the fact that I am not any one thing. I am not just mom. I am not just doctor or wife. And I'm none of those things together. I am, I don't know, this kind of flowing, ever changing, molding, person. And for me now to say I am an emotional intelligence coach, it used to feel like, I don't want to say that, like cold chills down my spine.
Hmm.
But no one thing defines who I am or my worth or my purpose, but the way that I live my life is what defines that. And I think your question was, how has it changed you? And so I would say having to take on this other role, put on this other hat because this thing just kept this like itch. I kept feeling the itch of like, starting this whole journey because of that, because of having to force myself to put on that other hat. I have had to learn to love everything about what I'm doing in this world, despite knowing some people are going to judge me. Sometimes I'm going to judge myself. Sometimes I'm going to make mistakes. So it has given me a deeper sense of gratitude for my life, I think is what I would say. Wow, I didn't expect to say that, but that's just where I got to.
I love that.
Interesting.
That's so cool. It's so interesting, right? You never know. Sometimes it's just sitting right at the surface and,
Hmm.
the words haven't formed yet. Gosh, I've
Yes.
loved this conversation, Lindsay. Really, we've covered so many things. Can you tell people how they can find out more about you? And of course, I know you have a free gift for the listeners.
Yes. So my website would be the best place. It's called theauthenticpulse.com, which is a nod to my doctor life. The free gift, I'd love to share the recording of the webinar that I did about my survey. Although it is geared specifically towards female physicians, I think it's applicable to anybody who's looking to have just greater sense of satisfaction in their lives. And I'd love to share that with your audience.
That would be great. I'll make sure to put those links in the episode notes so people can just click, go and find them, and find out more about you in the process.
Thank you. Thank you for your time, Candy.
Thanks so much. All right, everyone. I know that you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did, and I hope you took things away from it. More than anything, I would encourage you to listen to this at a couple of different levels. Listen with your brain, listen with your heart, and then think, what about this applies to me? Find that one thing from the conversation, take it away, integrate it, do something with it. Don't just consume these episodes to consume more information. Consume them so that you create that better life that you're craving. Thank you so much for joining us, and I will see you on the next episode. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of She Coaches Coaches. If this conversation resonated, take a moment to reflect on what stood out and how it connects to where you are right now. Coaching businesses grow through clarity and thoughtful choices, not pressure or hustle. If you'd like more support, you can learn more at stepintosuccessnow.com. I'll put the link in the episode notes. And if you found this episode helpful, I'd appreciate it if you would share it with a peer or colleague who would enjoy it as well. I appreciate you being here. Have a great day.